Everyone is asking the same question: when are oil prices finally going to drop? Today I'm going to walk through 3 specific dates, and the honest answer is not soon. Here's why. Every time the planets trigger Neptune, oil prices have gone up. This is a pattern I've been tracking for several years, and in April 2026 this activation is happening again. And the exact date April 13th, but that's not where the story ends. Let's start with what is happening right now. First, there will be a full moon on April 1st, which favorably affects supplies, imports and exports, and diplomacy, which may indicate successful negotiations, and deals which will slightly lower the price of oil and make imports and exports more accessible, which will slightly lower the prices of goods. This influence lasts for a week before April 1st and a week after. This is not a long-term trend. It is superseded by the following combinations. On April 2nd, Mars moves into Pisces. Pisces is a water sign. Mars is fire, action, explosions, conflict. When a fire planet lands in a water sign, this is not neutralization, this is a collision. And this collision will be unfolding through May 11th for as long as Mars remains in Pisces. What this means in practice: Pisces governs oceans, seas and waterways. Mars in Pisces means elevated risk of incidents in exactly those places. I will be watching the Strait of Hormuz very closely. Any news about tension in that region in April, that is not a coincidence. That is a planetary pattern unfolding exactly on schedule. Shipwrecks, accidents on water, events connected to ports and maritime routes, all of this fits the character of this transit. So it would not be surprising if during this period we hear major news about shipwrecks, water-related disasters, flooding, hurricanes, and so on. In general, this is a period of natural upheaval. Now let's talk about oil directly. On April 13th, Mars makes an exact conjunction with Neptune. Neptune is the planet of liquid resources. Every time I look back at periods when oil prices rose, Neptune was activated. The second half of 1990, other key periods, the pattern repeats, and right now Mars is coming to Neptune. This is not a gentle transit, this is activation through collision. The window of approximately 1 week around April 13th, that is the period when I'm expecting upward movement in oil prices. Physical incidents are also not out of the question. Accidents and explosions at oil extraction or transportation facilities. Mars conjunct Neptune in Pisces is exactly that kind of configuration. April 15th brings a new moon that picks up this baton and carries these tendencies forward for another full month. Meaning, the April oil story doesn't end in April, but the most serious chapter begins in May. From May through the end of June, a configuration forms that in astrology is called a yacht. This is one of the most tense geometric figures in planetary mechanics, and in this configuration we simultaneously have Neptune, the planet of oil, Pluto, and the lunar nodes Rahu and Ketu. All 4 points at once inside a single figure. This speaks to a serious crisis in the availability of oil and petroleum products, not simply rising prices, but a situation where availability itself comes into question. This same configuration points to the risk of environmental catastrophes: air, water and soil contamination, spills, industrial accidents. The period from now through early July, I am keeping this in my field of attention. Now for a good news. Around July 22nd, transits of a very different character begin to operate in the sky. These are transits of relief. It is around this date that I expect a reversal. Oil prices should start moving down. Movement may actually begin a little earlier, because on June 1st, Jupiter moves into Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer is one of the most favorable placements for this planet, and it will begin to gradually soften that very yacht I described. But the full completion of the tense configuration, that comes at the end of June. So, if we bring this all together, April watch the Strait of Hormuz and Maritime routes. Around April 13th, plus or minus 1 week, expect movement in oil prices. May and June the most tense period for the oil market and the environmental situation overall. End of June, the acute phase begins to close. Around July 22nd, the expected reversal downward in prices.